Hey everyone, it's MB. Okay, so Spirit was like, too formal, be goofy, show people your goofy side, and talk about some things of like what brought you down this path. So I used to be a choral music educator. I taught middle school. I got my degree in music education. I went to Michigan State University. It was a wonderful experience. Just a wonderful program I went through, the College of Music there. And it wasn't just the College of Music, I also had to go through the College of Education. And so it was kind of like two degree programs merged into one. It was a lot. It was a heavy course load, and it took me 5 years to complete. And I remember when I finished that, I was so burned out. I had to take a year off and just work at the little church job I had during college. I ended up doing that for just a year and kind of working around different jobs. But I just kept going through these phases of like depression and then mania and then depression and then mania. And I didn't know what was going on. It was very weird. And eventually I started applying for jobs in Michigan. And I mean, I want to say I interviewed over 20 jobs, and I had a second round interview at least 10 of those jobs. It was a lot. A lot of driving that summer, a lot of interviewing. And one of the things that kept coming up during that time, this would have been back in like 2016, 2017, was people were like, you don't have 5 years of teaching experience, so we're not going to hire you. And hold on, I gotta let my dogs out. Okay. So I'm interviewing, I get second round interviews. I think everything's just gonna go great. I'm gonna nail one of these jobs. And they kept coming back saying, well, you just don't, we want 5 years of experience. So everything else was great. You just don't have the experience we're looking for. And so I remember one time I scheduled an interview. It was like a 3 hour drive away. And I showed up to it and nobody was there. And then a secretary ended up coming in and she was like, oh my gosh, why are you here? And I said, oh, I have an interview scheduled today. And she was like, there's no one here today. It was the middle of summer. And somebody had accidentally scheduled me during the administrative staff's 2 week break. So basically, there was no one there to interview me. I got in the car. I got a phone call from the vice principal who was supposed to email or interview me, and he was very apologetic. He said, I'm so sorry we goofed on scheduling this. Let's get you rescheduled. And I said, honestly, it's okay. I think this is a sign that this just isn't the right job for me. And I appreciate your time and your honesty, but I'm going to have to pass on this opportunity. And I was in my car just sobbing on the ride home. I was crying. I was mad at God. I was like, what is going on here? Like, what do I need to do to get a job? Why is this so difficult? And then all of a sudden my phone rang and I picked it up. And this lovely gentleman answered on the other end and he was like, my name is da 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 and I have a job for you in Volusia County, Florida. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, one of your colleagues, my former voice teacher, and she went to Michigan State, but she taught me throughout high school. She taught me voice lessons, and she was this big choral guru in Florida. Well, apparently she had referred me to this art supervisor for Volusia County, and he wanted to hire me for this really affluent school that needed a director with a backbone and needed a director with a vision, and apparently I was the person that they wanted. And it was just ridiculous. And so we scheduled an over the internet interview, which the principal was like, I've never done this before. I've never hired anybody from far away, so this will be new to me. And we did the interview, and he offered me the job on the spot. And I said, can I have a couple days just to think about it? Because Florida is a big move. And he said, yeah, absolutely. And of course, I accepted the job because I didn't have any other opportunities coming up. Spirit was like, take it, go to Florida, go live your life, go have some fun. So I took the job and I ended up moving to Florida, and I taught down there for just 1.5 years. I wasn't there very long. I ended up burning out. And if you don't know about teaching, it's an extremely demanding profession because you only get paid for the instructional hours that you're working during the day. You don't get paid for the extra hours that you have to put in order to keep up with the curriculum and the planning. There's a lot of work outside of your day. And so my job would be like, I would get up, get to work by 7 in the morning. Kids would come around 8 o'clock. I would teach all day. I would have after school rehearsals for choir because I had these enhanced ensembles of kids who wanted to have more opportunities in choral music. So we offered some extra rehearsals once a week after school for some of the ensembles. And so there were days I was getting home at 10 o'clock at night. And every day was like that almost. And then on the weekends, I was just so tired. I didn't have energy to clean. I didn't have energy to take care of my home. I didn't have energy to take care of myself. And it was extremely difficult. I was exhausted. And I ended up going to the doctor because I was getting depressed. And I said, I'm getting really depressed. Like, I feel numb. Doesn't complete burnout. Like, I'm not passionate about this anymore. I don't like this job. I want to leave. I want to quit my job. I'm feeling so depressed. And so my doctor put me on a medication. After a while, that medication caused me to become manic because I didn't know I had a mood disorder at the time. So I got manic and I was feeling very much not okay along the lines of KMS, suicidality. I was not okay. And I remember I had to take, during my second year, I got 3/4 of the way through and then they put me on FMLA. And so during that time, I was burned out. I was trying to recover. I was trying to find my spark again. And my ex's dad came down and decided to SA me. And I guess he's a closeted person. Don't know why it happened, but it did. And it just really messed me up. And I remember then being really mad at God. And I was like, what is going on? My whole relationship imploded. My ex blamed me for it. He thought I did something. I cheated on him with his dad and was lying about it. And it was a really difficult situation. And I was like, okay, that's not who I am, first of all. And no, nope, that's not the truth. But if you don't want to take the truth, you can't handle the heat. Get out of the kitchen. So we ended up splitting up. We didn't stay together after that. I moved home, and it's been a journey since. I moved home and tried finding work. I tried going back to teaching, but that year, when I taught back here in Michigan, it was a really bad year for me. I ended up getting fired because I wasn't fired. My contract didn't get renewed because I just wasn't performing adequately. And there were some questions of support from the administrators. I was feeling like there wasn't a lot of support for me. I tried to be transparent during that time, what was going on with me, but it was just a really difficult year. So all this time, all this bad stuff going on, Spirit, it was like that relationship or that connection with Spirit just kept getting stronger and more bolstered and just more firm. Like, the way I could explain it is, I gotta let my dogs in, hold on. So the way I explain this is like if this is Source and this is me and I'm gripping onto Source and Source is like, nope, nope, nope. Go through the pain, strengthen your soul. These are learning things for your soul. And so over time, that allowed my soul to get more grip on God. And eventually, God couldn't pull away anymore because my grip was so fermented in Spirit that it was joined. And I started going through dark nights of the soul. I started going through ego deaths. I started really thinking about death and life and what the purpose of all this is. I went just down the rabbit hole. I felt like Alice in Wonderland. And hi. I kept trying to work during that time, and I just found it really difficult. It was Spirit was like, no, I don't want you working right now. And so eventually I gave up. I said, fine, I quit. I'll stop working. I talked to my doctors about this, and they said, yeah, let's try for disability because you're having a really tough time working. And so we decided to pursue disability benefits. Mind you, I've already worked for 18 years up to that point, so I had plenty of work experience behind me to go for these. Teaching was not my first job. My first job was, I started in high school as a janitor alongside my dad at his business. So my work goes way back, but I worked all through college too. I worked multiple jobs in college, and I just did what I had to do to make it. Hi, Lola. And when I ended up moving home in 2019, I felt like I still had to chase work and chase some kind of new career, but I was picking these jobs that were really not suited for me. And I was having a very negative experience in them. And so eventually I gave up, and I was working at an auto parts store for about a year, but I was having difficulty with the upper level management not recognizing my disability status and not recognizing my need for accommodation and not recognizing what I needed to be successful. They kept basically ignoring what I was advocating for, what I needed to be successful, and would do things like they would schedule me in the afternoon to close at 10 o'clock at night and then open again at 7:30 in the morning. And I would have to tell them, like, that's not enough sleep for me. Like, that's going to cause me to have issues. I need this much sleep at night to maintain my health. And I remember at one point, the insurance got messed up and I lost my state insurance. And the insurance the company had didn't offer cover. They called it behavioral health coverage. So they didn't cover things for me in my position, for psychiatric care, for therapy, for covering my psychiatric medications. And they had nothing. It was United Healthcare, actually, was the insurance provider. And they said if you wanted coverage for that, you'd have to be a district manager or higher. And so I told them, like, that seems really ridiculous. We were told there'd be no change in our insurance. I ended up having to quit that job. And I remember talking to the DM this was not my idea. I talked to the insurance company. I talked to the store I worked for had a helpline for people to call if you had questions. So I called that. And I also called my local health department who handled my state insurance, and I asked them what to do. And all three of those places told me, you're going to have to quit for 30 days and then reapply and don't take the insurance. And you can get your state insurance back. Hi. And so I talked to my district manager about that, and she said, well, that's just ridiculous. Can't you go off your meds for 10 months? Can't you go 10 months without seeing a psychiatrist? That was her response. So they didn't understand. If my district manager was saying stuff like that to me, it told me she didn't understand. And I ended up quitting that job because I got fed up with some of the stuff. I wanted to be a store manager, and they just were not training me effectively. I'm an educator. I'm a teacher. So I know how to train people. I know how to teach. And I can tell when people are putting up, when they're gatekeeping, and my district manager and her team were gatekeeping me. They didn't want me to advance to be a store manager. So they intentionally sent me down the wrong paths of training, intentionally gave me the wrong things. I ended up switching around stores too because I was having difficulty working with these store managers. They weren't training me right. And I kept getting in trouble for mistakes, but I would be like, this is literally how I was trained. So if I'm making a mistake, somebody taught me wrong. And that just wasn't acceptable to them. My district manager told me, you should know better. Like, if you're doing something wrong, you should know you're doing it wrong. And I said, how can I know I'm doing something wrong if this is literally how I was taught? If you have an issue, then you need to talk to the manager who trained me. And that's where your issue lies, because they're teaching me wrong. And she just didn't agree with that. She was not very supportive. She was very difficult to work with. And she instilled a lot of fear in everybody. Everybody was afraid of her. And I was like, she's just a human being. Why are you so afraid of her? What? It was crazy. So I ended up quitting that job. That was when my doctors and I decided to apply for disability. My psychiatrist told me, like, they were being very discriminatory, honestly. And so she didn't want me working at that job anymore. But she felt that I had done everything that I could do in my power to maintain my health. And if work isn't going to be supportive of that, I should not be working. That was my psychiatrist's take on it. You should not be in the workforce if these jobs are not going to be supportive of you and help protect your health, then you should not be working. Because this wasn't the first company to behave in a discriminatory manner. Yeah, it was tough. So I took time off. I ended up living at home for a while. I started doing dog sitting. I started thinking about the things I wanted in the world, what I wanted to see. So I created this thing called the Futures Cooperative System, which is basically just legacy work is what I call it. It's the work of the legacy of humanity. What is our legacy? And I really just wanted to put out into the world the things I wish that were out there, things that were missing. And so I made a website, and I just spent some time being creative. And I ended up, one of my meds ended up causing me to become a bit delirious. The med I was on is called lithium. And if you're not hydrating properly on lithium, you can become delirious from it. It can make you toxic. And so over time, I was just more and more dehydrated. I kept struggling over time to stay hydrated on that medication. And one day I just became so delirious, I had to call 911 on myself. I was like, I'm not right. Like, something's wrong. I need to go to the hospital. They ended up doing the whole psych thing to me, which I was a bit bothered about because my labs came back that I was very toxic, but they didn't get me any medical treatment. They didn't get me an IV. They just left me in the psych hole. And I said, I'm not here because I'm having a psychiatric episode. I'm here because I'm lithium toxic. Am I going to see a doctor? And the hospital was like, oh, you already saw the doctor. I said, I have not seen a doctor. No one has come in here to see me who has identified themselves as a doctor. And I said, I'm getting a little freaked out because you guys are sending me to a psych ward when I need to be getting medical care. And it was very odd. It was just a very weird experience. So I went to the psych ward, and the psych ward was like, why are you here? You're clearly fine. You clearly were having lithium toxicity. Why didn't the hospital admit you? And it was because my delusions were causing me to want to hurt myself, and so that was why they had to put me up. And I remember the doctor who saw me in the psych ward was like, it's a bit ridiculous, honestly. You didn't need to come here. But he helped me identify some things around my my health that I didn't quite recognize. He identified some things regarding like OCD tendencies, and he was a really interesting doctor. But we ended up fixing my meds, changing things up. Things have been going really good now with the med I've been on, and yeah, Spirit just kind of pulled me down a rabbit hole and had me go through some experiences that were really difficult. But it sparked this understanding that I always had as a kid, something I always knew as a child, but I forgot when I became an adult. And so I'm always now very grateful to Spirit for that, to Source for that, because the experience of all that made me stronger. It made me wiser. It made me more confident. It formed me, it shaped me, and I allowed it to. I got out of my way, and I allowed these things to change me in a positive manner. At first, they were changing me in a negative manner. I was very negative about the whole process, kind of like when your life is melting down and you're a toddler having a tantrum. That's how I felt. But things have been getting a lot better. I've been dog sitting for people in my community. I also clean for people. I just try to help out, you know. I'm like a neighbor where if I come in and let's say your garage door chain is too loose, I'll tighten it up for you. Oh, you need your hinges lubed up in your house? I'll go lube them up. You got door handles that are loose, I'll tighten them up for you. And so I kind of became this person. When I dog sit, I'll work on things in people's homes that need a little bit of TLC or attention. And it's been really positive. I've enjoyed the time off of work. I definitely miss working. I miss having an income like that, and I miss the social experience of it all. But I can't really complain because I never thought, and I tell my therapist this all the time, but I never thought I would be to this point. There's a part of me that always thought I wouldn't make it past 30. And so once I got to 30, I was like, what's next? Because I didn't think I'd be here this long. Dougie's got to go out again. Hold on. But anyway, it just was a wild ride. And it's been a wild ride, and it still is a wild ride. I've been waiting for disability for almost 3 years now. I still haven't gotten it. And I have lawyers who are helping me with the process. But they told me this is the process. It takes people this long. You know, the government would rather you starve and go hungry and have nothing than get disability benefits. They're very clear on that. They don't want people on disability. They make you wait a long time to get it. And I used to tell my therapist, if I ever made a student wait this long to get assessed, I'd be fired. Like, the speed at which the process is taking, I'm amazed that our government gets away with it. I think it's inhumane to make people wait this long and have to rely on family to cover things for them. It's just pathetic. I think it's very pathetic. But, we're supposed to be this great country, but yet we don't support the lowly of the low, the people who struggle, the people with mental health issues. We don't support them. We don't make it easy for them. We make it a lot harder than it needs to be. And this process, the waiting process definitely had a negative impact on my symptoms. My symptoms got worse before they got better. And it's been a really just trifling process. Like, the amount of patience that I've had to have during this time, I didn't think I was capable of. Because I've had these moments where it's like, I just feel like I need to go get a job. I need to go back to work. But I know that Spirit is having me sit down for a purpose. Spirit is having me sit still, sit in silence for a reason. And at first, that reason was kind of lost on me, over my head. But now I'm kind of understanding that, like, there's a purpose behind this period, this season of waiting. And it's allowed me to kind of reinvigorate my drive and reinvigorate my passions and kind of sit down and figure out, what do I really care about? Okay, if I don't want to go back into teaching, what do I want to do? Where do I want to go? Who do I want to be? And that's what kind of started the process of me starting this channel and me starting my website and me starting Love Light Awakenings, a healing studio, and just these little things that I'm doing. And, it doesn't make me rich. It doesn't make me famous, but it gives me an outlet creatively to express these things these gifts and these things that I have had to bottle up for decades. I wasn't allowed to pursue or get curious about because I was just constantly doing what everybody told me to do, just people pleasing through my life and doing what everybody expected me to do instead of doing what I wanted to do. And this process has really taught me, this time has taught me to sit down and really think about the things that I want to do. And that's the important part is if you're going to do something, you need to do something that you want to do. You can't be doing things in your life all the time around everyone's expectations of what you should be doing. That was quick. But the process is still ongoing. I'm still figuring things out. I'm still in this healing process of letting go of the things that don't serve me, some really difficult things. As a child, I experienced sexual abuse that was blocked from me for a long time. It's just blocked in my memory. I didn't remember it until recently. I was sitting in the bath and all these memories came flooding in. And I remembered that part of which it was just blocked before. And that was probably the hardest thing to come to terms with was the truth of that circumstance. I have these memories that it's like I don't remember it happening, but it definitely did. And it felt hazy for a while. But things have gotten a lot better with time, having time to sit down and just process, having time to write, having time to work through the mess of all the stuff that was going on inside has been so beneficial. And so if you're feeling, lost on your journey and you don't know where you're going or what you're doing and it just feels like a mess, just trust that there is a method to the madness. Trust that your pot is simmering. You're on the back burner simmering still, right? And when we simmer things, we're bleeding off extra water. We're bleeding off things that are diluting the concentration of the goodness that is in the pot, right? And so when we simmer, we're condensing the goodness into a richer, a roux or a stew or whatever you want to think about when you simmer something. Like when you simmer taco meat, eventually the water evaporates and you have this really rich, delicious taco meat. And so just know that sometimes, we'll spend seasons in our life where we're simmering. And it's not always fun, and it's not always what we want, but it serves a purpose. And the biggest thing you can do is identify that you create the purpose. You create whatever purpose you want to put on that time. And if you don't know how to do that or where to start small. Just start with little things. Start with maybe a daily journal. Maybe you go on a daily walk. Maybe you do stretching every day. Whatever you got to do. Whatever you feel is calling to you. It's super important. But my journey has been very interesting and it's been very difficult. It's been very lonely, but it's definitely been worth it, I think. And I have all these wonderful gifts that have come back online and it's feeling great. And I just feel, at one with my body again. I feel whole with my spirit and my soul again. And so things are working out the way they are meant to. And I've been really learning how to trust. Just have faith in that process and trust how it'll work out. Hi. Yeah. What else? That's about it. I miss teaching. I was a very good teacher. My students loved me. I never had any issues with any student ever. Even the tough students. Oh, that student's tough. Okay. They're not that tough. They're just smart. And I used to have to go to those kids and say, you're smarter than this. But it was, I loved teaching. It burned me out. It's a hard job. If you're a teacher, I have so much respect for you because I don't know how you do it. I had to leave that profession. It was too much. But what's next on my journey? I'm not sure. I'm going to keep making videos. I'm going to keep working on, I'm not a tarot reader, but I like to read the energy of the tarot cards. And so I'll keep posting videos with that. But yeah, I'm just here now. I'm here and I'm queer and I'm just flowing through life. And I hope to inspire people to do the same. Just flow through your life. Stop resisting so much the things that you can't control. And stop trying to control the things that you shouldn't be. Yeah. That's a little bit about my history, though, my past, what I've been through. I love my job. I love dog sitting now. It's a good time. Yeah. What's in the future? I don't know. I thought about getting into like esoteric healing. I thought about getting into maybe becoming a therapist. I thought about becoming a masseuse. I love giving people massages. If I can put my hands on people, it is like the best thing in the world. I feel like I have healing hands. I had a friend who had back issues and he used to let me give him back massages. And after a while, his back issues went away and he's been totally fine since. And that was kind of proof to me like, see, it does work. Like my hands can do really magical stuff. But it's just hard to put it into practice, how to get started. A lot of those things you have to get credentials for, and it costs money. There's barriers to it that make it a little challenging. But I'm hopeful for the future, and I'm just grateful to be here and now in the present moment and to be able to sit in the present moment. And that right there alone is just the greatest gift. Being able to pull myself and center myself to now. And it's something I used to do as a kid, but I feel like I lost that ability as I got older. And it's just such a gift. It really is. And to me, it's worth all the strife. It's worth all the pain. It's everything that I went through, it was worth it in the end. And I'm grateful for it. And everything I'm going to go through, because my life's not over yet. There's more to be done. I just know now that I can be grateful for it. Even the challenges, even the things that are really hard and tough. Because it's going to shape me and continue to craft me. But yeah, that's just a little bit about me. My past. Everyone has a past. Steel Magnolias. Such a good movie. If you have not seen it, you should watch it. Spirit, is there anything I need to say? We are proud of you. We love you. You're doing an excellent job. Continue to let go of that which does not serve you and focus on that which does. Know that you create what serves your greatest and highest good at all times, in all places, in all spaces. And know that God put you in the driver's seat for a reason. So drive. Don't be afraid to drive your car. You chose to come here to do this. We all chose to incarnate and be a person and go through these things for a reason. And so if you're like me and your past was really difficult, just know that you're not alone. And this helps me feel better, but I signed up for these experiences I've had in my life. And once I kind of accepted that truth, I realized there's a purpose behind all of the pain, and there was a purpose behind all of the strife and the woe and the worry and the anxiety and the hurt and the confusion. There's a purpose behind it. Don't be afraid to get your hands a little dirty and try to sort out what the purpose is behind those things. Sometimes in our story, we get used to just telling our story the way it is and believing it, that's how it is. But it's we don't have to do that. We can sit in our story and take it apart and find the purpose, find the tendrils of it that make us stronger, kind of help us clutch back into source better, more strongly, more firmly. Yeah. I think that's it. I'm going to pull a card. The star. You are a star. You are the star. Okay? We are the star of our life. Get back. What? Get back in the driver's seat. It's your life. You are the star of your show. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening if you stuck around this long. Thank you to all the new subscribers. And thanks to everyone who continues to watch. Yeah. That's just a little about me. I'm sure I'll have more to share later. But all right, I'm going to go play with these doggies. They're getting bored and mad at me. So I love you and I'm proud of you. And you're doing excellent. You really are. You're still here. You've made it this far. You've made it through the hardest times of your life. And that's a blessing and a gift. And I hope that you can find a way to be the star in your own life and continue to shine and thrive and, be who you're meant to be. Be the person that you came here to be. That's how it goes. All right. I'll talk to y'all another time. I'll see ya. Bye.